They call me Squirrel.
What's going on, Squirrel Squad? It's, well, you know, the Squirrel. And this is something I came across. I don't think I've seen this before, even come across, like, any suggested videos or anything. This is ridiculous jobs Queen Elizabeth actually has her staff do. Interesting. It's broken down, it looks like, into quite a few jobs on here. It's all chaptered out. So let's check it out. I'd like to see what ridiculous jobs Queen Elizabeth actually has her staff do, or at least in the opinion of this creator. So, if it's your first time here, hit the subscription button because we're going to do some more videos just like this and a lot of comedy videos and all kinds of videos. You can check out the playlist, all kinds of stuff. Hey everybody, it's good to see you guys. Here we go.
Queen Elizabeth II employs an astonishing 1,200 people just to keep the royal household running. The positions held by her staffers vary from cooks to chauffeurs. But as it turns out, quite a few people on the payroll are doing jobs that seem, well, delightfully bizarre. The Master of the Horse position goes way back to the year 1340, according to Horse and Hound. While this position would have been of importance in centuries past, today the job is an honorary one. The outlet explained, the Master is no longer involved with the day-to-day running of the royal stables, but still makes inspections and rides in ceremonial uniform at state occasions.
I think she also felt that there was a responsibility on her to maintain the bloodlines that had been established over many generations.
Seems like a great job. All right, so far, 1-for-1 job Squirrel can do. See if we can get me a good job with the Queen. I can come move over there.
In 1999, the Queen appointed Lord Sam Vestey, former chairman of Cheltenham Racecourse in Gloucestershire, as the new Master of the Horse. He is the senior officer in charge of the royal stables as well as the horses and carriages belonging to the Queen. The Telegraph reported, in his role he attends important ceremonial occasions when the sovereign rides on horseback or travels in horse-drawn carriage, such as at Trooping the Colour and the state opening of Parliament.
See, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know anything about horses. I didn't run anything like this guy, who obviously has some knowledge, but I can ride in a carriage. The same.
Stuart Parvin, who manages the Queen's wardrobe, revealed that there's a staffer tasked with breaking in the Queen's shoes. What? To do this, the employee dons a pair of socks and walks around the carpeted areas of Buckingham Palace. Parvin told the Evening Standard in 2017, the shoes have to be immediately comfortable. The Queen can never say, I'm uncomfortable, I can't walk anymore.
Angela Kelly is sort of unsung heroine of British fashion.
In her book, The Other Side of the Coin, dressmaker to the Queen, Angela Kelly, spilled even more details about the strange practice, writing, as has been reported a lot in the press, a service person wears in Her Majesty's shoes to ensure that they are comfortable and that she is always good to go. And yes, I am that person.
She is that person. Now listen, I'm going to say 2 for 2. I'm going to say 2 for 2 only because I don't know what size shoe the Queen currently wears, and I wear a 13 wide. I got a big foot. I don't know what size shoe she wears, so if we're the same size, I could do this. I mean, I could do this job. It's a job I could perform. I just don't know if we have the same size feet.
We share the same shoe size. It makes the most sense this way. Up until the mid-1800s, the head of the royal family travelled via the River Thames. Back then, 48 staffers dubbed Royal Watermen were responsible for rowing the royal barges in order to transport the sovereign. But during his reign, King Edward VII cut the number by half. The royal family's office states, the sovereign today still retains 24 royal watermen under the command of the Queen's barge master, thereby continuing one of the most ancient appointments in the royal household.
It's quite a big thing. Very prestigious, and a lovely tradition as well.
But while this ceremonial team remains on staff, there isn't exactly a daily need for them. In the rare instance when the royals travel the Thames, the royal watermen are tasked with accompanying the family. Of the more than 1,000
I can accompany family on boats. 3 for 3.
people working for the monarch, one is the Astronomer Royal. This position first came to be in the 17th century, with the Royal Museum's Greenwich explaining, the first Astronomer Royal was charged with drawing up a map of the heavens with enough accuracy to be reliable for navigation. Although the job led to a great number of scientific
This is still a job we need?
discoveries, the position is mostly ceremonial today. As of 2020, astrophysicist Martin Rees holds the honorary position and is thus a member of the royal household.
there you go. They're like, hey man, you've done a lot for science and astrophysicists, whatever it is that you do. Here's some free money.
My professional interest has been in trying to understand cosmic phenomena and how our universe has evolved.
But despite his credentials, working as the Queen's astronomer doesn't exactly pay well. Rees receives a stipend of just about $129 per year.
Well, I mean, really, that's free money.
The Queen has her very own composer, dubbed the Master of the Queen's Music. In the past, this position was a lifelong commitment, but these days the royal family officially states that the terms have been limited to 10 years in order to allow more musicians to get involved. BBC News explained, there are no fixed duties involved. The Master may compose pieces for the royal or state occasions. While this is largely a ceremonial job today, those who've been appointed are uniquely talented. In 2004, the Queen chose renowned British conductor and composer Sir Peter Maxwell Davies, who formerly headed both the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra and the BBC Philharmonic. A decade later, the Queen appointed the first ever female Master of the Queen's Music, Judith Weir, a former opera writer and resident composer with the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra.
That's a pretty cool job. I can't do that one. Although it is a ceremonial position, so if I just had to show up in a cool tuxedo and just do this with a stick, I could, but I don't think that's allowed.
Keeper of the Royal Philatelic Collection has to be one of the oddest titles to hold. Appointed by the Queen, the Keeper is entrusted with maintaining her personal stamp collection. Before being chosen for this position in 2003, Michael Seffi was already working for the Royals as Deputy Keeper. He explained his job, telling The Times, "The job as Keeper is part-time and the commitment is 2 days a week. My commitment to the British Philatelic Trust is the same. If one wanted to spend 3, 4, 5, 6 or even 7 days a week in the stamp room, one could, as there is always lots to do. And it's a big job because the Queen's got a ton of stamps."
Stamps act as a global advert of what's important to the people of that nation. And in this country, all the biggest royal events are commemorated.
Seffi revealed to the outlet, the red albums of King George V amount to around 17,500 album pages. The blue albums of King George VI will also contain many thousands of album sheets. For a serious, dedicated philatelist, it is a tremendous privilege. Since
Stamp collector? Who would have thought? I mean, maybe a lot of people do know that. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Huh. I wonder what our president has. He probably has a big Beanie Baby collection, I would guess.
1843, the royal household has employed the Piper of the Sovereign. According to Hello magazine, this musician plays the bagpipes at the Queen's pleasure. The piper is also tasked with playing the bagpipes every weekday for 15 minutes beginning at 9 a.m. as a wake-up call for the Queen. The Express reported, "The sound of the lone piper has played under the Queen's bedroom window every weekday since she took up her position on the throne." Although an alarm clock would arguably work just fine, the Queen continues to employ a Piper of the Sovereign. As of 2020, Pipe Major David Rogers holds the title, and it's a daunting one. Former Piper Gordon Webster said he had to memorise hundreds of songs during his tenure, claiming,
"The Queen didn't like, to a certain extent, that you repeated tunes every day. I probably had about 700-800 tunes under my belt, and they're all up here."
Wow. I mean, that's a cool one. I couldn't do that. I can't play the bagpipes. And the one before that, I love just wasting time. And I can imagine keeping a stamp collection would be pretty much not a waste of time, but I mean, like, just kind of a very mindless, job. Just got to be careful, right? Yeah, I probably couldn't do that either, actually. I'd probably ruin the collection.
If you spot a swan in England, there's a good chance it belongs to the Queen. Since the 12th century, according to the family's official site, the Crown has maintained the right to claim ownership of any unmarked mute swan swimming in open waters.
All swans in the United Kingdom can belong to the Queen, but she mainly exercises this right on the River Thames.
In the past, swans were considered a delicacy and were served at royal banquets. But today, the royal family no longer eats the birds. Instead, the Queen helps protect them. While the Queen could claim any unmarked swans throughout the country, she focuses on one stretch of the Thames by way of her Swan Task Force.
My name's David Barber, and I look after the swans wherever the Queen exercises her royal prerogative right.
The Swan Marker leads his crew of swan uppers each year on a, quote, iconic 5-day journey upriver. Upon spotting the birds as the procedure goes, they carefully position their boats around the swans, lift them or up them from the water and check their health. The practice of hiring a food
I could do that.
taster to test for poison is an ancient one. Roman Emperor Claudius famously had a taster who was later suspected of murder when Claudius died by poisoning. Although it has not been confirmed by the Secret Service, it's likely that American presidents still abide by the practice. And the same appears to be true for the Queen. Although Buckingham Palace has not confirmed reports of an official food taster, Chef Kevin Dundon claims to have observed the custom firsthand. The chef once prepared a salmon and lamb dinner for the Queen, but said she didn't try the meal until after her taste tester sampled it. Dundon told People magazine, "I produced 2 plates, one for him and one for her, and he tasted before it was served to her." One does not
I can do that job.
simply earn the title of Grand Carver of England. Rather, one is born into it. Even if you're the go-to person at Thanksgiving, there's no hope of becoming the Queen's Carver unless you're of noble blood. The Financial Times reported, in the past, skilled carvers would serve the monarch slices of meat that were a uniform shape and thickness, and which were still hot. Today, the Earl of Denbigh holds the sole position as Grand Carver of England and is responsible for, you guessed it, carving meat for the royal family. Although this may sound like a strange job, it wouldn't have been in years past. Chef and accomplished carver Mark Hicks told the outlet that the practice has become a lost art. Just as the title of Grand Carver of England is passed down through generations, Hicks misses a time when the skill was, quote, proudly passed from father to son. The royal family.
All right. If you take out the bloodline part of it, I could do the job. I don't want the job. I hate being the guy who's got to carve the meat, so I can't do the job.
Family has been making an effort to keep up with the times. The Queen even posted on Instagram for the first time in March 2019, but they still uphold centuries-old traditions. Never mind cell phones, the Queen has roughly 450 analogue clocks ticking at Windsor Castle alone. The Express reported that her longtime clockmaker, Steve Davidson, even developed repetitive strain injury in his wrist after nearly 2 decades spent cleaning, repairing, and winding the Queen's clocks.
You think?
Pages of Honour have perhaps one of...
I could do that job. I don't want the job, but I could do it. But we'll keep it on the list of I can do jobs. I don't want to carve. No carving, but I can do that one.
the simplest jobs in the royal household, which is appropriate since they are kids. According to the Daily Mail, pages are tasked with carrying the Queen's train during royal ceremonies and hold office for 2 to 3 years between the ages of 12 and 15. But not just anyone gets the job. They are the sons of the royal family's friends, and their duties are tougher than they seem. One of the Queen's page boys even fainted while she was giving a speech back in 2014.
My government will introduce a bill to bolster investment in infrastructure and reform planning law to improve economic competitiveness.
A source told the outlet the poor boy had been standing up for some time in uncomfortable and claustrophobic clothing. The important thing to remember is that he was just doing his duty for the Queen. The Queen has...
That is one long train. Holy smokes. I can do that job. I'm not related. Yeah, I'm not 12 to 15 years old. But why don't you just let me do it? I ball the whole thing up. It's just me and the Queen. We head out the back door. We're good to go, right? No, I can't do that job. I'm not old enough, and I'm not friends with... Me and Charles, we don't talk anymore. That's all.
Has essentially amassed a museum's worth of art. And according to the Royal Collection Trust, it is possibly one of the largest collections anywhere in the world, with around 7,000 oil paintings and 3,000 miniatures. In 2004, the Queen appointed Desmond Shaw Taylor as surveyor of the Queen's pictures. He told the Trust, "It is a huge honour to be chosen as surveyor of the Queen's pictures. The Royal Collection has a great tradition of scholarship and outstanding exhibitions, and it will be an immense privilege to be part of it."
Now, I hope this guy makes more than $129 stipend. I hope.
You know you've really made it once you've added an on-call sculptor to your payroll. In 2008, the Queen bestowed artist Alexander Stoddart with a mouthful of a title, Her Majesty's Sculptor in Ordinary in Scotland.
All right, real quick, I couldn't be the art guy, just like the stamp thing. I'd screw the whole collection up, and I'm not a sculptor, so boom, no.
According to BBC News, Stoddart is considered the leading monumental sculptor throughout Scotland. Still, he was surprised by his appointment. He told the outlet, "I am perfectly thunderstruck to receive it. I should hope to be able to match the expectations implicit in this appointment in continued association with these wonderful people, to Her Majesty's satisfaction."
He could have just said, "Thanks, I appreciate you guys appointing me to the job." That was a very long-winded response, but good for you, man. Congratulations on the job. I couldn't do that job. I have I'm not artistic at all. That is the end of Ridiculous Jobs Queen Elizabeth actually has her staff do. It's funny because the title makes it sound like this woman's crazy. Well, can you believe she does ridiculous jobs? Well, most of it are just very traditional. So, kind of cool though. It's different. I mean, I would have expected a few of those, but some of them, not so much. I wouldn't even have ever thought of like the kids carrying the train. That wouldn't have been any. If I sat here for 30 days trying to write down all the ridiculous jobs I could think of, that would not have been one of them. I don't think so. Anyways, that was really cool. Thank you to The List for that great video. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary and the reaction, and I will catch you guys soon. Until next time. I'm the Squirrel, you're the Squad, and Bob and Fanny, the aunt and uncle combo that we all so love, say goodbye. Squirrel out.